Willie is still in the Pacific Northwest, but he will make the long trek back to Nashville today. So we'll actually get to see Willie live and in living color tomorrow. We've missed you.
Well, isn't that nice of you to say, Adam? Yes, I will be back
briefly
tonight, just like the Terminator, just like the Terminator, the T-1000.
The T-1000.
Yeah.
Was he a T-1000 or
Wait a minute? No, the other guy, the new guy, the Terminator 2. That was the T-1000. I forget
Yeah,
what
he was the upgraded version, the T-1000.
Yeah, the upgraded guy. Yeah, I'm just the old guy. I'm the old guy. I'm like Arnold. I'm the original.
The
But I will be
T-500.
back tonight. Yeah, and that it is a nice day here in Vancouver. The sun is actually coming out, and hopefully that is what's going on with the Predators season. That was a really nice win last night. They finally busted out and look like a team that has some firepower that can overwhelm you with some talent. And so let's hope they can build off of that. So it sets up a really big game on Wednesday to wrap up the road trip. It's the only game they have during the week before they play a home game on Saturday. But, Adam, as you talked about how big this road trip is, if they can win the last game, 2-1-2 sounds a lot better than 1-2-2, if you will. So hopefully they can get something going, but a good step in the right direction last night.
And we'll get to the Predators over the course of the week, obviously. But yesterday, the Tennessee Titans, unsurprisingly, lost to the Minnesota Vikings 23-13. Their record falling to 2-8 and 1-4 at home. A lot happened in this game, and we'll certainly break it all down over the course of the program. But the major storyline was Will Levis, 17 of 31 for 295 yards, a passing touchdown, a 98-yard passing touchdown, I should say, the longest pass play in the NFL this season. He had a late interception, but we talked last week about Will Levis's performance against the Los Angeles Chargers. Didn't do anything spectacular against the Chargers, but had a solid game, no turnovers. And the one thing that we've wanted to see from Will Levis is gradual progress. And I would say that his performance yesterday, and to keep in mind, he was playing a stout defense yesterday. Derek, we talked last week about what the Vikings like to do on defense. They blitz a ton. They bring a lot of pressure. We know that Will Levis has struggled when pressured this season. But considering the opponent as well, I thought it was another step in the right direction for Will Levis during this critical juncture of his career.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing good football right now. He's playing not losing football. That's what he's playing. And for so many weeks, he was playing losing football. So you got to take that into account. But you want to see more. You want to see him sort of consistently put together games and finding ways to ultimately win football games. Now, listen, it's not all on him. We understand that. This team has a lot of holes across the board, but you want your quarterback to be able to go out there and do something that is going to cause you to win. Now, again, he didn't do anything that caused them to lose yesterday. Frankly, I thought that, especially in the second half, he played good football. It was just unfortunate for them. Bad calls here and there, and the offensive line, the right side of it anyway, was no better yesterday than it has been all season. Actually, frankly, it's embarrassing now. It's to a point where it's utterly embarrassing. It's embarrassing the franchise, period. And
we'll get to that.
Yeah,
Don't you worry about it.
But I think Will Levis did enough. But I wonder if he's doing enough that the fan base is going to start to give him the benefit of the doubt, considering what's going on around him. Again, I'm not going to comment too heavy one way or the other because I want to see this thing play out. Like I said at the beginning, I don't want to be fooled again. I want to see him play the whole season out and then make a determination from there. But the last two games were progress. Again, they didn't win, so you can't say he did great. But I think he's looking better after the injury than he did prior to the injury or the benching or whatever you want to call it.
Willie, over the past two games, Will Levis has completed 35 of 54 passes, which is a completion percentage of around 65%, 470 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 interception. So those are his numbers over the past 2 weeks. And to Derek's point, is he playing winning football or not losing football? Well, one thing that he certainly has done is he has cut down on the turnovers. The interception he threw at the end of the game yesterday was just that, an interception at the end of the game when he's trying to make something happen. And you can certainly quibble with whether or not he should have thrown that ball, but you need to take a shot when you're losing late in the game. But Willie, I'm curious for your opinion on what you've seen from Will Levis over these past two games, but specifically yesterday.
It's a step in the right direction. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be a thing where as long as he's healthy, he's got a chance to slowly progress. And that's what you have to hope for him if you're him. And if you're the Titans, you have nothing better to do than to just let him play. That's nothing to write home about, right? They've scored only 30 points in these two starts, and they haven't really been in position to win at the end of the game in either one. And you're right. Yesterday, they were playing one of the best defenses. And I think the Chargers are showing that they're a really good team. So he's played a couple of pretty good defenses, really good defenses the last couple of weeks. So you have to take that into account. But a passer rating of 84.7 and a QBR of 43.2, that's not a great game, even though there were some pretty spectacular plays in there, a lot of big chunks. That's encouraging. And they took away any run support that he had. They only had 33 yards rushing, and he had 18 to the 33. So, he had nothing in support of him. And this team also seems to have a knack of every time that it looks like they might make a big play, especially on defense, where they get a big stop, the penalty happens, an unfortunate call. The Jeffrey Simmons, where his arm got knocked into Aaron Rodgers' face mask. The play last week against the Chargers where it looked like they had a scoop and score, and that gets overturned. And then yesterday they had a big drive stop at a key time where the drive gets kept alive by a penalty, questionable call. So they're not really getting a break to give themselves a chance. But it really all is riding on Levis and the progress. And, you got to say that's a step forward yesterday.
Yeah, it is a step forward with Will Levis. But again, I'm to a point where, I don't want to see him regress. I want to see him continue to either do what he did the prior 2 weeks or do it better. And hopefully that is indeed the case. Hopefully, yesterday was the sign and the mark of, okay, Will's getting better. I can add some more things to his plate. Because it seems like he's playing not tense anymore. For whatever reason, he doesn't seem as tense or anxious as he did at the beginning of the season. And maybe because he had a chance to sit and, in his mind, talking with Brian Callahan, like, listen, just go out there and play. Don't worry about the mistakes. They're going to be made. Just make the right throw. That's all you have to do, whether it's a 50-yard bomb or is a 1-yard reception. Make the right throw. And I think that's what he's doing. He's making the right throw, at least the last two games. And I just want to see it continue. That's why I would love to hear what the fans think. Will the last two, or has the last two performances changed your mind on Will Levis moving forward? Now, granted, I know we got 7 more games left.
Yes.
But is it headed in the right direction for Titans fans? Because ultimately, that's what matters, is how does the fan base feel about Will Levis moving forward? And then obviously the organization. But I saw people walk into the game yesterday, and it wasn't two-tone blue. It was all purple. So to me, if they start feeling better about Will Levis's play, I think they will start to go back into the stadium. But if they're not feeling good about Will Levis's play, I'm not sure they're going to that stadium until the Titans change.
And you can give us your thoughts on Will Levis on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com at 615-737-1025. But I want to play what Brian Callahan said after the game yesterday when asked about Levis's performance. This was Callahan's assessment.
Will show you the kind of poise and playmaking that you've been waiting on from him?
Yeah, I thought Will did a really nice job today. That part was encouraging. I thought he stood in the pocket, played tough. He was accurate. There's going to be things that we need to clean up, but managing that game against that defense, the complexity of it, all the things that we have in our plan that you have to handle all the things that they do. I thought he did a really nice job. I thought that was another positive step for Will, and I'm proud of the way he played. He fought, he battled. He stood in there and took a few and delivered some really nice throws. And, I wish there was more to show for it.
That was Brian Callahan yesterday. And when it comes to the evaluation of the quarterback, there's a lot of chicken or the egg happening here. Is it the quarterback or is it the offensive line? Dylan on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, says the quarterback is a NASCAR driver. And the team has provided him with provided him with a crappy car, and they are upset, and the fans are upset about how he's driving. Make it make sense. So Dylan's point is that Levis, if I have Dylan's point correct, he feels that the Titans have set him up to fail with primarily the offensive line. And that's what makes evaluating Will Levis challenging at times, is because is he struggling because he's not getting the protection, or is it the other way around? Is he struggling regardless of the protection in front of him? And that's the question I feel like we have every single week. Derek talked about how porous the offensive line has been, and we'll talk about the offensive line later, don't you worry. But it's sort of this, is it Levis's fault? Is he a product? Is his poor play a product of the team around him? It's a conversation that I feel like we've had, quite frankly, since Levis became the starting quarterback.
Sure. And I think as you look ahead, I think there's some interesting games of evaluation coming. A lot of division games. You've got Jacksonville, that's a total train wreck, and you get to play them twice. You've got 2 with Houston, which will be interesting because Houston's kind of banged up, and I don't know what we're going to see from them going forward. And you've got the Colts, who are just the absolute epitome of mediocrity. So I'd love to see Levis have some games where he really pushes it forward, leads them to some wins. That's probably the next step. I do think he's kind of stabilized. But again, you look at the QBR 43.2, 5 times sacked again, 84.7. No doubt, we know what's around him. That's not much. But I would like to see him take another step forward and elevate them to a win. He did do that a couple of times last year, right, as a rookie. So you want to see that again. If he's making a case to the team of you don't have to draft a quarterback with your first-round pick, and he's earned another shot to be a cheap starting quarterback next year, and they can take a player at another position with a high first-round pick, that might be ideal for the Titans. But he's got to take some more steps forward than he is now. But I do think he's kind of stabilized. Maybe he's bottomed out, and he's moving in the right direction.
One texter says, what do fans want from Levis? He hasn't finished a year yet. He cut out the bonehead mistakes from weeks 1 and 2. He's sliding more. No interceptions in meaningful time the past 2 weeks against great defenses. No offensive line. His best receiver traded for peanuts. New coach, incompetent GM. So a lot working against Will Levis, according to this texter, Derek. I mean, where do you stand on all of that?
I mean, I think run down the things again, all of the sort of things that
he hasn't finished a year yet. Okay. So I'm assuming he hasn't. I mean, how many career starts does he have now?
15?
So
16?
he has, let me see here. I just want to make sure. He has 16 career starts. Mm-hmm. He has 16 career starts. He hasn't finished a year yet. He cut out the boneheaded mistakes from early in the season.
Mhm.
He's sliding more, although he did take quite a big hit against
he
the
ain't
Chargers.
sliding more.
He took a
still
big hit
took some
against the
hits, yeah.
Chargers last week. No more interceptions in meaningful time the past 2 weeks against great defenses. No offensive line. Best receiver traded for peanuts. New coach, incompetent GM.
His best receiver is still there. His best receiver is still there. Make no mistake about it. His best receiver is still there. Now, would they have probably benefited, you know, with Calvin, I mean, with D-Hop on the team? I'm not sure. I think the best thing for Will Levis and Ridley was that D-Hop not be here, because now they can build their rapport. Now he has to throw the ball to him. So now it sort of takes away, you know, your security blanket in a sense. It forces you to play football. It forces you to get outside of your box. And it seems like that's what Will Levis has been able to do. Now, the incompetence of the GM, I mean, listen, I'm not going to get into that stuff anymore, man. Listen, y'all are not GM, so y'all can't tell me whether he's competent or incompetent. Let it all play out. And if he's not doing the job, if they're not winning, you know, games by next year and this roster hadn't changed, then yes, they're going to change GMs. That's just the way it is. But you can't sit here and say, well, it's incompetent when you haven't been in that job and you really don't know what incompetence look like in regards to that job. But the other stuff, yeah, I mean, listen, he's right. Will Levis is playing behind a not so good offensive line, and he's managed to sort of keep everything in check. He's not having the egregious turnovers. He was right about that, the texter. At least not in meaningful times. That last one, I put that more so on Calvin Ridley than I would Levis, even though you got to fault Levis because he saw a safety up top and the underneath coverage, even though he did beat the underneath coverage, but there's still a safety over the top, and the ball just hung up there too long. But even with that, I thought Calvin really should have kept running. He slowed up, didn't think the ball was coming, then tried to pick up speed and couldn't get to it. But he has been able to overcome some things the last 2 weeks. I just want to see it happen over and over again.
Right.
I'm not one of these guys that, a guy do well one game and all of a sudden now he's the bee's knees or he's the next greatest thing. There are too many people out there like that. They flip-flop, go back and forth. A guy play a good game, he's great. Then he play a bad game and y'all act as if he can't play the game anymore. I want to see consistency. When Will Levis starts to give me 5, 6, 7, 8 games of consistency, then I will completely shift. But 2 games is not going to do it. I think he's playing well. He needs to continue to play well. I'm not going to pat him on his back for playing 2 good games when he's played 15 bad games. Okay. So with that being said, he needs to consistent, and that's what the Titans are looking for, is consistency. That's all.
Chase in White Bluff on our text line, by the way, before we go to break, says his best receiver, Levis's best receiver, maybe NWY. I just want to point out that Nick Westbrook-Akine has as many receiving touchdowns as Justin Jefferson. So
I take it to the bank was correct.
Yep, David was correct. He did predict that. I'm just saying, Nick Westbrook-Akine in the same conversation as Justin Jefferson. I'm being tug in cheek here, but 615-737-1025. So this is the question for all of you. Has Will Levis's performance over the past 2 weeks changed your opinion at all on Levis? I agree with Derek. Like, it's got to be more than 2 games, but it's a solid performance stacked onto another solid performance, in my opinion. Have these past 2 weeks made you rethink anything that you previously thought about Will Levis? We'll get to those next. 615-737-1025. Tune into Stillman & Company today from 2 to 6 for your chance to win Jelly Roll tickets for his performance at Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday, November 26th. This contest is supplied by Chiba Hut Subs, serving up dank food and chill vibes, now open in Donaldson.
All right, let's talk F&M Bank. Yes, a little shout out for our Take It to the Bank with Nick Westbrook-Akine. Donick, 2 out of 3, a pretty solid effort, trying to climb up in the standings. This is a fun segment we have every Friday on our show Call Take It to the Bank, and it's brought to you by F&M Bank. Banking made easy on purpose. They do such a great job in our listening area, 20 different locations, and they want to be right in the middle of your community because they want your business, and your business means more to them. They want to simplify things for you, make your life easier, and that is what they strive to do every day and what they do for their clients. If you're a business owner and you need help with a business-to-business loan, they're there for you. If you're young and you're getting your financial game plan together, just developing it, they're there for you. No matter what stage of life you are, they've got you covered. Find the nearest location to you, myfmbank.com. myfmbank.com. 20 locations, 6 in Clarksville, West End Avenue in Nashville, Murfreesboro, Mount Juliet, Springfield, and on up to Hopkinsville, Kentucky. myfmbank.com. Find the nearest location to you. F&M Bank, equal housing lender, member FDIC.
This week's Nashville's best deal is Bavarian Beer House, Nashville's only authentic German beer hall, a place full of fun, food, music, and most importantly, beer. Enjoy traditional German beer, brats, giant pretzels, and more in their expansive beer hall and garden. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get a $50 gift card for only $25 to Bavarian Beer House while supplies last. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan here with you. Before we get to your calls and texts at 615-737-1025, I want to do a little in-show wager. We're not actually wagering anything, but I would just be curious for everybody's opinion. Do the Jacksonville Jaguars, who Willie mentioned in the previous segment, do the Jacksonville Jaguars fire Doug Peterson or Trent Baalke before the end of our program today?
There is a high probability that it will happen. I didn't know there was that bye week, and you let me know.
They are off this week, which is why it makes it the
a
perfect time to do it.
Yeah, it'd be a perfect time.
What do you think,
If you're gonna
Willie?
Do it.
I think it's probably likely. The game that was the game that was on. By the way, Vancouver is not the best place to watch either college or pro football. They had the game on one of the channels here, and I was like, okay, this is a Canadian channel. Can't they flip to another game? It's 48-6 or whatever it is. Like, come on.
What time were the Seahawks playing? Because I think
Yes.
Vancouver residents have adopted the Seahawks as their NFL team.
Yes. So the late games, we were good. We had the Seahawks game on one channel, and I had the Chiefs, the Bills on the other channel. I was set. But the early games, they did not make a good decision there of picking up the Lions Jags. But that's an aside. But I mean, just watching them, they brought nothing to the table. They weren't fighting at all, and that is a telltale sign. I really think. The more I think about the big picture here for Levis, just tying it together with Jags, like you got two Jaguars games, right? You got, I think Will Levis is trying to make a case that you don't need to draft a quarterback with the first pick. You can build the roster, which is desperate for game-changing type of talent, young game-changing talent. And that would be a big notch in his belt if he could make the case and say, I'm your